everything that we come in contact with, everything that we recognize, that we can understand, that we can relate to, is finite. Giving this illustration, a very simple illustration. We eat before because we are hungry. So we have a specific need to eat. And then we take a limited, a specific amount of food. We eat it, we digest it, and then we're not hungry anymore. Now that we're not hungry anymore, we no longer need to eat. As we said, eating has a specific function. And when you're not hungry, that function doesn't exist. It is not a continuous function. It is not permeating everything that one has. It has a specific moment when it has to be done, and then afterwards it's no longer applicable. When we take this to a broader Indian, we say one is davening. Davening is, generally speaking, a hachana for the whole day. And what is this hachana of this whole day? That before he goes into his daily activities, he has to get the koiches, the ruchnische koiches, the koiches from the Meibashn, to be able to go and accomplish these inyan for this day. He has to give the chayas. So again, it has that broader and deeper and more significant quality. But it has also a definitive purpose. The horaya, we daven. After davening, we close the siddur and we go to do other things. We have gotten what we need from davening, and then we go back to doing everything. When you say that you have Ein Sof, Oyer Ein Sof, what does Ein Sof mean? Ein Sof means that it never stops, it continues on. It is unlimited. Unlimited means that it is not there only at the moment when you relate to it. But once you relate to it, it is there all the time. That's maintain safe. Within that category itself of Ein Sof, there is Oyer Ein Sof and there is Pnimius V'Atzmas Ein Sof, Oyer Ein Sof. What is Oyer? Bechlal, what is the word Oyer denote? Everybody knows the translation of the word Oyer. Light. Light. What does that mean? There is a source for it. It's an Oyer. Oyer means that there is a source for it. This is a very important principle when you say Oyer Ein Sof. The quality of Oyer is, if If you look at an object, you look at this box you know did not make itself. There was definitely human intervention in making it. But the box itself does not point to that human intervention. This is something which you understand independently. You could see that this is something which had to have been made. But it on itself, like it says in the Alter Rebbe explains, when you make yesh mi yesh, then once you made it, it stands on itself. It is an entity all unto itself, once it's made. The word oir means that even though it is there, like the sunlight is very effective, and it has tremendous effect in the world. But in itself, when you look at the light, what does the light represent? It doesn't represent itself, it represents its source. When you look at, say there is sunlight, you don't say sunlight is here. The sunlight came. You say the sun rose. When you say the sun rose, the light is what came. When you say sunrise, say sunlight rise. Because that's what you're benefiting from the light, not from the sun directly. Because if the light, in fact, would have been an entity that can be separated from the sun, it wouldn't serve its purpose at all. The reason that light can serve its purpose is because when light comes, you know that it's the sun that's here, not the light. And from the sun emanates the light. Electric light bulb would not be different, but it's not the same category as sunlight. It's also the same thing. It has a heat, it has the light emanates from a source. Whether it's heat or whatever, it's heat. Basically, all light is created by some kind of a heat process. So the essence is, if you say that there is light in the room, you know that there are bulbs in the room. There's no light without a source.
Or what the earth that was there when
Sheshes and Mebreshis. That was an entirely different type of light. which we'll have a chance to talk about. There are two types of light in general. There is light that illuminates darkness. And then there is light that eliminates darkness. And these are two different aspects completely. That light that illuminates darkness means that the place where the light shines essentially remains a dark place, except the light lights up the darkness. Eliminates darkness means it transforms the darkness into light, and it's no longer a darkness. It's no longer a dark place. It's in essence. It's no longer a dark place in essence. It's not just that right now it's light. Like, and he explains in Tanya about the sunlight and how the light is within the sun itself. What does it say over there? The light is bottled. Why?
Because there's too much of it.
Must mean there's too much. Right. What's the pshat? It's a mokir. Because in the place that the sun itself is, there's no darkness.
Because there's light. That's why there's no darkness.
Not because there is light, but because there's a source of the light. The place that the sun occupies is occupied by the sun, which means there is no possibility. There's no darkness in that. But this is the difference between the place outside of the sun and the place that the sun occupies. The place outside of the sun is essentially dark because there is no sun there. Essentially, there is no basis for light there. You have to bring light there. The place that the sun itself occupies, since the sun itself is the very source of light, it is brightness itself. So that place that the sun occupies, we refer to as having been transformed into light. It's not eliminated. It's not illuminated. It's transformed. The whole concept of darkness doesn't exist in that space.
It's because of the presence of the sun, not that the place itself becomes light.
Right.
If you take the sun away.
Yeah, but no. When you take the sun away, it's a different place. I'm talking about, right, because of the place of the sun. Because of the sun is there. But while the sun is there, we do not say that this is a dark place that's being illuminated. It's not in this place right now. Whenever the sun is always occupying its place. Its place can be moving, but the place that it's occupying is always its place. The place that the sun occupies is always there's no such thing as darkness there. Because the very sun is there. Is that clear?
Yes, I don't get it because I don't see how it would be different from just light coming into the room. Right now in this room, since there's the light here, there's no darkness here.
There is darkness.
When the light's here, there's no darkness.
There is.
How?
The light pushes it away.
The same thing here. The sun came to that place and pushed away the darkness from that place.
No. The sun didn't push away the darkness. It occupied its space. It completely eliminated it. The fact that the sun can move away, let's forget about this because let's talk about this. Let's talk about the place the sun occupies. The place the sun occupies is always with it. The sun is never not occupying its place. Makes no difference if it's here or there, makes no difference. But this place that the sun occupies is always occupied by the sun. And that place does not have that concept of darkness. Darkness exists only where there is not, in a place where it doesn't have its own light. It has to get light from outside, from elsewhere. A place that has its own light doesn't have darkness. The sun has its own light, and therefore there is no darkness there.
Speaking in absolute physicality.
No, I'm not talking.
Marshall here. You're talking about the actual sun.
I'm talking about the actual sun. I'm talking about the actual sun. The marshal that the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. It says, "B'mokim hasan." The oil that's mispashet. The oil that's mispashet is bottled completely. Why? Because it's totally irrelevant. There is no darkness there. So here he says that mitzvah shofar is bo'oirel mamshich, not just Ein Sof, but pnimius v'atzmus Ein Sof. Pnimius v'atzmus Ein Sof means that it's not just that it's going to be a light that that leaves the place that it's shining essentially dark. Now it leaves the place the way it is, except it illuminates it. You could now see things because the light is there, not that the place is different. Whereas when you say pnimis v'atzmus, when you have the etzem of the light, then that means that actually it is no longer a place of darkness. It's a place of light.
This light accomplishes the same thing as the Malka accomplishes.
That's right, yeah, this is like the essence of the light. That means that it's no longer a place of darkness, it's a place of light. Let's take it in Nimshal a little bit, and we have to go with in the Nimshal, which you understand the concept, right? The world essentially is a dark place, which means it's devoid of Elokus. And therefore it's a dark place. When you do a mitzvah, you show that the world has a shaykhus to Elokus. There's a rotzen, the Rebishter wants something, so therefore in this world. Therefore there is a source of light in this place. Then there is the Inyan that mitzvah shofar is mamshich. What is mitzvah shofar mamshich? Mitzvah shofar mamshich, as we will see, not just that you can do one mitzvah or another. Mitzvah shofar is mamshich, that the Rebbe consents to be here, to be with us, to be a melech. Yes, that's what. So when you say there is that the Rebbe is here as a melech, that is not just shining through. That changes the whole perspective. It's no longer a Metzias of the world, a dark world. The whole Metzias of the world is transformed. It's no longer a midbar, an insignificant entity that needs to be illuminated, but it is a world that there is a melech, that the Rebbe is a melech. It's a different kind of a world. It's like the mashal I spoke yesterday a little bit, right? when you have the king's palace, and you have outside the king's palace the rest of the country. Although the rest of the country, the king is all over, but still we can understand it, relatively speaking, we can understand the difference. In the rest of the country, you only know that this belongs to the king. You're a subject of the king. When you're in the king's palace, even if you don't see the king himself, but you're in the place of the king, you see the presence of the king in everything. Everything that's in the king's palace is made exactly to suit the presence of the king, as if the king is present right here. It's not a dark place at all. There's no need to prove, oh yes, there is a king here. That's what the place is. Why is there a palace? Because there is a king.
All the furnishings,
everything suits exactly to this object, to this objective. Everything is set up exactly for that purpose. So when you're mamshech, when pnimis v'atzmus ein sof, like shofar is mamshech pnimis v'atzmus ein sof, what is the hamshacha? It's pnimis v'atzmus. It's not just you bring a light, but it transforms the whole mitzias. You redefine completely the whole world. And this is the mitzvah shofar. Do you agree with me? וידוע, the mitzvah shefer bekavonos haruchnius, hu inyan hatshuva. What is the kavana in the mitzvah of shefer? Meaning, what is the activity of shefer, of mitzvah shefer per se? When you do the mitzvah, what is involved in this mitzvah on the ruchnisdike level, in this performance of the mitzvah? The inyan of tshuva, which we'll explain in a minute. V'zehu inyan hatkiya harisheino. This is represented in this tkiya harisheino. Tkiya harisheino means the very first tkiya. What is this tkiya? Shehu bechinas tzako bekoil poshut. Tkiya harisheino does not have any kind of expression. The tkiya, shvorim, truo, tkiya, shvorim and truo is essentially represent the same thing, except there's a machlokes what the shvorim, which one should be shvorim or truo. But what do they represent? They represent a painful expression. When a person is catching his breath and say, and is yiluli yolil, he's like mourning. So he's not mourning in a continuous sound. He's mourning in piecemeal. Oh. So there, when you have Hiluli Yolil, there is a certain sense what you are mourning about, what your pain is about. That's why it comes in these type of short expressions. Whereas when you talk about koil poshut means that you can't contain it at all. If something is paining you and you don't even know what it is. Because if you have any sense what it is, it comes in some kind of an expression. And it is not continuous. It goes on and off. How does when a person has pain? The pain is not, it hits him, and then it kind of acclimates to that and hits him again. It is not, because he has a sense, he can contain it. But when you have a cycle, the kol poshut means that it is beyond contained completely. So this tkiya rishena is bechinas cycle b'kol poshut. Why is there? How can there be a cycle b'kol poshut? Shezehu mitzad hahisoyrus v'hispoilus pnimi shebenefesh. This comes as a result of hispoilus pnimi shebenefesh. Of the nefesh being affected and expressing itself from the pnimi, the nefesh itself. The spoilus pnimi benefesh is the pshat hazeh. When a person has any kind of an ache, his little toe is hurting him. It's a pain. And it's hurting him. And he says, ay, ay, ay. But at the same time, he is capable of doing other things. There's the story of the Mositzer Rebbe, that he underwent a long operation while singing and eating without anesthesia. Because pain, of even very profound pain, a person can go beyond it and higher than the pain, and then he won't even feel it. When you say it's hispoilus pnimius anefesh, you say this hispoilus pnimius anefesh. That means that there is nothing beyond it. It's not something. It's not a question that you can contain it. It's beyond. It's beyond the seichel. It's beyond the rational experience. It is not an experience that one can explain and express and say, "Oh, this is what's hurting me." It's something is missing in the very essence in the person. And therefore, how can his seichel define what it is that's missing? It's beyond the seichel. His seichel doesn't function at that level.
Because of the intensity of the pain?
No, because of the source of the pain. What it is that's missing. What's bothering him.
This is not like it was by the Moshe Rebbe with the Nigun.
Right. This is deeper than that.
Right. Because you could have.
Yeah, they couldn't contain it. All pain bichlal, even though there is what's called nerves that carry the message of pain and so forth, but pain per se is an expression of a sense of living. Let me explain to you what I mean. In the psychological world, in human experience, we know that, let's say, a child that falls down and is hurt and cries, you say, "Oh, that's a healthy child." If a child is hurt and the child doesn't cry, chas v'shalom, we say something is missing. What's missing? It's hurting in the same way as it's hurting the other child. Why is he not crying? Because he's taking pain for granted. There is, children of Muslim who didn't have a normal home, whatever it is, and even adults. Adults are also supposed to cry if it hurts. If one cannot cry, it means that he's just taken for granted that that's the way it is. When an adult knows that there is a Father in heaven to whom he can cry, then he opens up and cries. If he thinks that he is in a cold, dry world, what's the point of crying? That's the way it has to be. That's the way it is. So pain is not just a physical phenomenon. All pain touches the essence of the person. It's an expression of the fact that, yes, it bothers me, which means essentially something bothers me that shouldn't be. And I feel it, and it bothers me why it's like that, why it's not the way it should be. That's what the cry is about. There's an interesting phenomenon associated with this. You could see a child fall and hurt himself. And there's nobody around. And the kid doesn't cry. He goes to his mommy. The minute he sees his mommy, he starts crying. As long as he is away and doesn't have anybody to express his pain to, he doesn't cry. And when he sees his mommy, even if the pain had already subsided because it happened 10 minutes ago, he first begins to cry. Because when he sees his mommy, that's when he becomes shocked. How come I got hurt? I have a mommy. That was then he begins to feel the contrast, the negativity in the pain. Otherwise, he doesn't even feel it. So, when we say that there is and this pain is all expressed in all kinds of different ways. He cries, in short cries, long cries. It all depends on how deep the pain is. But when it is a pain that reaches a very sharp directly into the soul, then the expression is a continuous scream, a koil poshut. There is no there's no containment to it. But you ever buy a bris?
Yes.
Yesterday, Mazel Tov. Did you notice that the first cry of the child is, and then he subsides and goes, But the first cry, how was the first cry? Without any expression. What's going on here? Right? Because that's like a shock to him, and it touches the whole mitzvahs. Then afterwards, he kind of subsides. It's he can, and then he still cries, but it's a different kind of cry already. It's like a cry that he contains, and he cries with some kind of expression. So when you have a cycle, the koil poshut, cycle, a scream, the koil poshut means that even though it's a cycle, he's expressing, but he's expressing nothing. He's expressing just that something is wrong. What it is, he has no idea at all. If he doesn't have an idea what's wrong, how does he know it's wrong? He feels it in the nefesh. He feels it, and this is something which goes beyond definition. This is already what the nefesh itself, just like we say pain is all related to the chayas of the person. This is the etzem chayas. There are different levels of chayas. There's chayas which says, I have to have comfort. I have to be able to do what I want to do. And this prevents me. I want to be able to run, and my foot hurts when I can't run. This type of thing. There's certain levels how much it affects and how much it bothers him. But when it touches the very essence of the nefesh, then he can't express what his pain is. And the only way that it comes into expression is, and it's a continuous thing, because it's expression of the very fact that he is alive. And in this sense that he is alive, it hurts. Not it hurts in one aver or another.
Right now it seems like you're explaining this crying as a reaction. But the second way you said that when a person realizes that he's an Eibishter, or he has a father or a mother, then he has somebody to cry to, and therefore he cries. One, it sounds like you're saying it's a reaction. One, you're saying that it's not a reaction, it's an expression, and doctor for other people, it's an expression.
No. It's together. It's a reaction, but one does not have a reaction if the reaction, what is the reaction? The reaction is basically that there is a discomfort that shouldn't be. The only reason that one would think that it shouldn't be is because that he has a father. Otherwise, who is he? This is what happened to him. Finished. It can happen to a table. The table can be broken, so my foot is also broken. You understand? But when he recognizes that there is a difference, and he has a father, and the father, gives him perfection, gives him all sustenance, then he knows that this is not the way it should be. And this is what the pain is.
can't father, therefore he shouldn't be in pain because his father is taking care of everything he needs.
Right, that's very basic. That's like a child's cry. That's what it is. Iserus Hisporos Pnimi Shebenefesh. Shebo Behisgalus Bikeil Poshut Dafke. That Hiserus Hisporos Pnimi Nefesh can only come Behisgalus Bikeil Poshut. Because it's got nothing to say. It's the essence of the nefesh itself. The Hine, he's going to explain this now. Yesh b'chines hispolos pnimi the nefesh ba'aveda de reusa de libo. He's going to explain the Indian that he said just before, that the kavona pnimis, ruchnis of Shefer is the Indian hatshuva. How do we see it? We see it from the fact that it comes in a cycle b'keil poshut, and this cycle b'keil poshut represents a soilos rispolos pnimis shebenefesh. So he explains. Hine yesh, and this is spoilers pnimis shebenefesh is expressed in cycle b'keil poshut, and that is indicative of tshuva. Why is it indicative of tshuva? He explains. The hine yesh b'chines hispoilus pnimi the nefesh ba'avedo the reusa de liba. There is another mode, another place, another moment where there is a spoilus pnimi the nefesh. Bichlal, the inyan from spoilus pnimi the nefesh. I have to explain this slightly. The spoilus pnimi the nefesh, since he is going to make a distinction between different types of spoilus pnimi the nefesh.
How do you take
But
spoilus pnimi the nefesh?
okay, the spoilus pnimi the nefesh means an internal effect in the nefesh. The reason we need explanation for that is simply because we're not used to thinking on that level. When we are hungry and we want to eat, we don't think in terms, if I don't eat, I just I'm going to die. Doesn't think in terms of affecting his nefesh, his whole person. He thinks it's uncomfortable. I'm hungry. At worst, maybe it'll weaken me and I'll need time to recuperate. I won't be able to learn properly for the day, or something like this. Doesn't think in terms of nefesh. And as a result, we're not conscious of the fact that there is really a living nefesh that actually, in other words, are his spoilers, and then what we are affected by, and what touches us, what is represented in our desires and so forth, is not just an immediate need. I feel pain, I need to eat. I feel cold, I need heat. In other words, all kinds of external experiences. There is a living nefesh in the person, an essence. What is the pshat, a living nefesh in the person? All the things that we have described, we talk about hunger, cold, pain, all of these things are essentially the result of something, of some lack, of some negativity. something is missing. I'm hungry because I haven't eaten. Or I'm cold. So that what I'm pursuing is to alleviate a negativity, alleviate a lack. But then there is a completely different phase in a person's life, which is not to alleviate a negativity, but it is something that is a positive thing. This is what I want. The nefesh wants something. Nefesh has a drawing to something. It is not all just to alleviate a negative, alleviate pain. When people go to work, they're concerned, what will happen if a bill comes, I won't be able to pay it? And what will happen next year and 10 years from now? All in terms of how do I guarantee that nothing negative comes to me? But where is the positive? What is it all for? The real person is in the positive, not in the negative. The negative is only kind of forestalling something that shouldn't be. But a person does not consist in that. A person has a mission, has a chayas, he really wants something. That's the nefesh. It's not lacking nothing, and he wants something. Why does he want it? Because there is an inherent desire in the nefesh. That is in essence of the nefesh, he really wants something. What does the nefesh really want? The nefesh really wants elokus. This is an inherent desire in the nefesh and continuous desire in the nefesh. This Indian will come back and we'll be able to elaborate on it. But this is the essence. And in this desire that the nefesh wants elokus, this is in the etzema nefesh, this is the very essence of the nefesh. Which means it's not because it's lacking something, because something is hurting me. And this is what he says over here. Yejis polis pnimi the nefesh ba'aveda de reusa de liba. The aveda of reusa de liba means, the word reusa de liba means desire of the heart. Normally we say that the mind, moyach, is higher than the heart, right? Mind is higher than the heart. Yet there are madreges there's a madrege that actually finds expression in the heart that the mind cannot relate to. That's beyond the mind. Because in the mind, everything that one can relate to has a certain kind of definition, certain kind of reason, what it is that you want. And therefore in the mind, the essential desire of the nefesh, that is the essence, that is doesn't have definition, the mind has no way to grasp it, because there's no way to grasp it. Anything that cannot be expressed in words or even beremes, the mind cannot relate to. But the heart feels it, for whatever reason. And I said it's not the place to go into it. And this is called avoida bereuso de liba. In reuso de liba, desire of the heart, there, the nefesh itself can express itself. When a person purifies himself to that point, that's what happens. So in avoida bereuso de liba, it's also his poilos pnimi, the nefesh. What means this poilos pnimi the nefesh? Poilos pnimi the nefesh means that the nefesh is mispoiled not because it's missing something, not because something hurts him, but because this is the essence of the nefesh. The nefesh is always in that state. This is what he wants. Rusa de Liba. The nefesh wants a lakus not because something is hurting it, but because that's what it's looking for. That's its very nature to want a lakus. Like the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, right in Perikut Ches, that fire rises upward not because it's missing anything, but because that's its state, that's its nature. And a piece of wood falls downwards, not because it's missing something, but because it falls downwards. That's its nature. And in the nefesh, there is this innate nature that it wants an elokus. So therefore, in Aveda Derusa there is also such a phenomenon that's called Hispoilus Pnimi de Nefesh. A Hispoilus that is nothing to do with seichel, with any kind of defined desire, but the nefesh itself is touched. But how is this in Rusa de Liba expressed? Rusa de Liba is expressed b'chashoy, in perfect quiet. Quiet, not screaming, not saying anything. In quiet. There is a story of two Chassidim that met, and we are talking about the period, a very, very difficult period in Russia, during the oppression, during the communist experience, and the warmth and the love between Chassidim was enormous, was very, very deep. It's still deep, but we have to bring it out. The two Chassidim, I don't remember who they were, but the great Chassidim that met. And meeting was also a very difficult thing in those days. It was to meet and to speak to a person was always suspect. You had to watch out who you speak to. I mean, it was an unbelievable circumstance. These Chassidim were great, great friends. And they sat down to Fabrenk. So they had a little bottle of mashke, one of those, what over here are giving out samples. So they had this bottle of mashke standing with them. They sat on two sides of the table. And they looked at each other. They sat without saying a single word, a whole night. The bottle of mashke was untouched. And their eyes were pouring out tears. At the end of when the daybreak, they put away the bottle of mashke and went each in their way. That was the whole fundraising. Anything said would have been a misrepresentation of what they felt. Completely. There was nothing to say. That which comes from the purity of the heart doesn't need expression, and expression disturbs it. Okay. That'll be it for today.